Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated. Please join me in extending a very special welcome to Evil's family and friends joining us today. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. His spouse, Mrs. Lisa Gray. Their daughter, Miss Alex Gray. Their son, Mr. William Gray. His sister-in-law, Mrs. Julie Gertie. Brother-in-law, Mr. Todd Kirby, and nephew, Mr. David Kirby. Joining us via live stream, his father, Mr. William Gray II, and brothers Bob and Dave Gray. We would also like to recognize and welcome senior leadership and distinguished guests in attendance. From the Air Force Test Center, Brigadier General Mark Massaro and his spouse, Mrs. Becky Massaro. From the 412 Test Wing, Colonel Thomas Tower, Commander. Colonel James Hayes, Deputy Commander. From the United States Air Force Test Pilot School, Dr. Andrew Freeborn, Technical Director for Space. Senior Master Sergeant Theo Dinwiddie III, Senior Enlisted Leader. From the 412th Operations Group, Colonel Clifton Bell, Commander. From the 412th Electronic Warfare Group, Colonel Hans Buckwalter, Commander. We are also honored to welcome our former TPS commandants, Brigadier General Matthew Heiger, United States Air Force retired, Colonel James Doolittle III, United States Air Force retired, Colonel Charles Webb, United States Air Force retired, Colonel Noel Zaman, United States Air Force retired, Colonel Mike Llewellyn, United States Air Force retired. Also in attendance are Colonel, retired astronaut, and former NASA Deputy Director, Pam Melbourne. Art Thomas, CEO of Sage Cheshire Aerospace and Flight Test Historical Foundation Board Chairman. Niels Larson, NASA Armstrong Chief Test Pilot and X-59 Lead Test Pilot. Greg Morris, CEO, Scaled Composites. We would also like to welcome all commanders, directors, family, friends, and coworkers who are in attendance today for this special event. Thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our presiding official, Mr. David Van Hoy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Miss Lisa, it's great to see you. Welcome to the Gray family and friends, those that are here in person, those online, and I'm not going to welcome all the distinguished visitors because I'd be here for another 20 minutes. So I'm just going to say welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the afternoon off. Thank you for making the time to come celebrate a very special occasion for a very unique man. We are here to celebrate Mr. William R. Gray III, otherwise known as Evil Bill. Just evil to some folks. And I have to say, is there a better call sign out there for an instructor pilot? So you'll have to ask him later tonight how he got his call sign, but that's his story. So, as we mentioned earlier, official retirement from government service for 22 years, 6 months, 3 days, 12 hours, 16 minutes. 10% true. But 20 of those years he spent as the chief test pilot of the Air Force Test Pilot School. First one to do that, and the only one, as of today, to hold that position. Evil, it's really hard for me to get my head around the fact that our long ride together is coming to an end. You and I think, have made a great team. We've had trials, but we've had so many accomplishments that's really instilled, I think, a solid education in our flight testers and now our space testers. And I think you and I have done this because through them, we've been able to influence developmental tests across the entire Department of Defense. But the ride is coming to an end. Maybe it's not over. So it's my honor today to talk about you, your civil service career, and what you've meant to this enterprise. Miss Lisa. Yes, you. It's wonderful for you to share this event with us, me, and your family. I don't know how I can thank you enough for loaning your husband to us for the last 20-some years. The long weeks, the days, the hours, the nights, the weekends, whether it was at TPS or on travel, the time you spent apart. I don't know how you two managed, but it's meant a lot to us. And also, it's wonderful that you've been able to bankroll your husband. Your professional success as a high-paid consultant, I think now for Toyota, has allowed Evil to work for half pay, maybe a third pay of what he's really worth. I talked to him about that many times, and he goes, yeah, pay doesn't really matter. Yeah, pay doesn't really matter. So, you're awesome. Now, I did want to take this chance because I know this is Flight Test is a family affair. We're a big family here, and your family's been committed to this enterprise for so long. And not everybody is aware, a couple of us are, like Mr. Art right here, of what you've meant to our Flight Test Historical Foundation. And the years and years you've put into it, the hours year after year of voluntary service as a board member, as a president. I thought you were president for life because you were president for like 10, 12 years in a row. And then we found another person that could step in and take over command, and you're still the chief operating officer probably. So the things that you've done to try to, to raise funds, to spread the story, to help us get a solid museum that we can now have a place to house our aircraft, our memorabilia, tell our story. So the work you put into that, it's just been absolutely amazing. And every year, it's my privilege to come to the Gathering of Eagles event, which is a fundraiser for Flight Test Historical Foundation. It's in November. Everybody here should be there. How'd I do? To watch you and Evil work together. You do all the work behind the scenes. You tell him what to do, and he stands on the stage and looks pretty. It works great. So thank you. Alex and William, it has really been a pleasure for me to follow your lives from a teenager through college and into your professional careers. I know we met a long time ago back in the days when you lived in Quartz Hill, but Evil keeps me up to date on the different things you've done, the things that, mostly your successes, not any of your challenges. It's just so clear. He is so proud of the both of you. I hear this all the time. You probably don't hear the things I hear about what he says. And for Alex, as an engineer working for Millennium Space Company Systems, building satellites, Sonic, we need to talk with her. We need some space-based test articles for our space test course. Just saying, we always got to work that angle, right, Sonic? So what a marvelous job you're doing. I hear about that. And William, consultant for, it was DreamWorks. Is that right? Technical consultant? How cool is that? So I know where you get that side of the brain. That is awesome. I hear you're just loving the job, and it's a perfect job for you. So what I want to do, one of my goals for today, is to share some information with the two of you that you may not know about your dad. Don't worry, it'll all be PG until later. And then when you hang out with JB, you'll hear all sorts of things. But these are the stories that may not come up at the dinner table, where you're probably mostly hearing about things from your dad of, oh, this cool meal I made. I found some stuff in the pantry. I went to the market. I have this fresh thing here, and look how it turned out. And you're rolling your eyes and go, yeah, it tastes all right, Dad. That never happens, does it? For those of you who don't know, Evil is one of his hobbies, maybe more of a passion, is cooking. And it's not just the cooking piece, it's the chef piece. It's finding the ingredients, figuring out how they work together, combining them in the right way. And he has used that story many times with our students about flight test. In flight test, he wants our students to be chefs, the folks that are like him that create, not a cook who just follows a script and a recipe. So I've heard that story over and over again. I know you've enjoyed many years of his culinary, well, the successes anyway. Finally, to Dad. Dad who's online, Mr. Bill Gray II. I know you would be here if you could. We completely understand the challenges that travel poses. I don't like flying with airlines now so much myself. I personally fully support you saving all your energy for what I hear is going to be an epic family trip early next year to Southeast Asia. And I know it's probably going to be an emotional event. It's going to be a lot of stories told. But Evil's dad was an intel officer who helped organize and plan the evacuation of the embassy in Saigon. He was probably one of the last people on the chopper to get out in 1975, right before the North Vietnamese army took over. That's got to be it. Can I say a hell of a story in this? Got to be. So I'm excited to hear how that goes. Okay, that's for the family. Now, back to Evil. This ceremony is not for you. I've said that before. He knows that. Personally, Evil, he would have preferred to finish yesterday's Finney flight and just grabbed the family and a few friends, headed to the bar, grabbed his beer, and just hung out and swapped stories. But he also knew, he knew better. He wasn't going to argue with me or put up a fight, but a few months ago, I think I said, "No, Evil, you're having a retirement ceremony." And he went, "I knew you would say that. Okay." Those two sentences alone really tell a lot about Evil Bill. Let me tell you. First, his Finney flight yesterday. What would most of the military air crew in here go do on your Finney flight? Range around, low-level, departures, supersonic, all the things that are so cool out there that you want to just go do one last time. Well, Evil, he's done all that stuff. So here's what he did on his Finney flight. Here it is. Okay, 2-ship dissimilar chase IP upgrade. So he was the IP upgrading someone for a mission we're trying to bring back into TPS. It's one of those really important missions that help test pilots learn test pilot kind of skills. And a few years ago, we took it out of the curriculum because we were smarter then and we had new stuff we wanted to put in, and then decided, this really was important and we're putting it back into the syllabus. He's the only guy who's ever flown it as an IP. So he spent this week double turning, upgrading our new staff for this ride. That's how he wanted to finish his 40 plus years of flying military airplanes. So, what I wrote here was preparing students to be safe and effective test pilots is a passion that has driven Evil for more than 2 decades. And it's really helped define his professional life. On display yesterday. The other piece that he thinks is so important, and he's led this as well, is he wants to set the best possible example by practicing what he preaches. And I think he was doing that in spades yesterday. Leading by example. The second thing out of that is that Evil didn't argue with me about this ceremony. He realized the importance, again, smart man, because he understands the positive impact he can have on this community. And he's had that tremendously. And this ceremony is really for you, the family, friends, peers, flight testers, the test community in general. That's what it's for. We're here to honor a man who's given so much to the community, appreciate the breadth and depth of his contributions, and really to hold him up as an example of what we'd all like to try to emulate in our professional careers. A man of character, a man of service before self, dedication to the mission, and always a pursuit of excellence. Those are things we should always strive for. So I'm going to give you a short overview of his civilian career. I'm not going to tell you anything about his prior life, where he was born, where he went to school, where he learned to fly, and when he came to TPS. All that was covered at his last retirement. Okay, how many people were here at his last retirement? Okay, a few people. Yep, a couple of classmates, Max and Urban. All right, that's wonderful. So we covered all that before, so I'm really going to focus on his civilian career, which started in 2004. But, with one minor exception, I'm going to start with the fact that Major Gray, then Lieutenant Colonel Gray, was an instructor pilot at TPS starting about 1997. I think that's about when he started. And then up until he retired, he did other things in that period, but he was attached, like many of you out there now are, still supporting TPS. And I think in that time frame, he really found his calling in life. He knew that's where he wanted to be, that's where he fit. I wish we could all find that unique spot for each of us. He turned down opportunities to go to staff college. Maybe that's not a big thing, but many of you would do that. But you're not going to do that and advance your career. He turned down other opportunities to grow his military career, to be promoted in a number of ways, because that's where he wanted to be. So he retired 20 years, 12 minutes, and 30 seconds after. And he got promoted to Mr. And as Mr. Gray, he started working at TPS as part of the initial cadre of civilian test pilot instructors. That's where he first started it. We knew we wanted to create a group of folks that provide, continuity, as in stay around longer than the military folks, and really learn their craft and provide that depth over the years. I think we knocked it out of the park with this guy. And 2 years later, 2006, he was promoted up to his current role of Chief Test Pilot at TPS. So I know it's a diverse crowd here, and a lot of folks aren't as familiar as others with some of the things Eagle does. So I know many people look at him and think, oh, you're an instructor at TPS. Okay, he must spend a lot of time just instructing students. That's what instructors do, right? Well, a little bit of that time he spends instructing students, because his impact has really been so much more. And that's what I'm here to tell you about. But first, let's look at just a couple of the numbers to get an idea of the magnitude, because when I started putting these numbers down, I had to do a double take. That can't be right. I think it is. I might be off by a couple of decimal points, but we'll see. He's qualified to teach 13 of the 16 flying events we have in the T-38. Most of those he's written or reorganized himself. And the ones he doesn't fly are not because he can't fly, it's because he doesn't have time. And I don't even know how he does 13 of the 16, which is rare. But that's not enough. He also was qualified for 14 of the 22 F-16 sorties, mostly the ones that are kind of representative high-risk tests. So that would be the departure rides, the LCO rides, the structure rides, the handling quality rides, those sort of things. The others are systems rides, and we know Eagle goes to systems. Why do I want to do that? That's testing while flying, not flight testing. Yeah, I get it. It's also the primary X-62 Vista pilot, safety pilot with more experience than anyone else in that. He's flown over 3,300 hours as a civilian IP. That's not all his military time, that's all his time working for us as a civilian. And well over 90% of that has been as an instructor. So I think Uncle Sam's got his money out of you in this time frame. 2,000 hours in an F-16. Now, I saw John Fergione earlier. I forget how many total hours he has, probably, John, 4,000 hours?
34.
34? How many of those in the back seat? Yeah, which I figured, it's all the test pilot work you've done and the long, illustrious career you had flying F-16s with Lockheed. Well, Eagle, 2,000 hours, I think he said 15 of those were in the front seat. in a single-seat airplane. So 15 in a single-seat airplane, I'm just going to say most of 2,000, so we'll say 1,997, close enough. And then in the back seat is an IP. He has more back seat time than Fug. Where's Fug? But you're still young. You got time. Not 65 yet. Okay. T-38. He was qualified to fly the T-38 as an instructor in 1997. 29 years of flying in the T-38. He's accumulated, I guess the number of hours is not what I wanted to say here. Yes. Flying 29 years in the T-38 as an instructor pilot. So my sources from Northrop, I don't see him here now, but he did some intel for me. My sources from Northrop say that that's a record. There's nobody else that has that much time as an instructor in the T-38. They're going to verify it, maybe get you a plaque, and I don't know, go and watch or something. Roy Martin's chasing that down for you. So, okay, well over 7,000 total hours. Most of it is an IP. Most of that time, or at least a lot of it, was spent not just instructing students, but upgrading other instructors. Teaching UIPs how to safely and effectively execute the flying curriculum. His influence on the community was incredibly multiplied by teaching the teachers. The key to more capable graduates, it's a simple one, is better IPs. And he's been a key part of making that happen. 60 classes or so of graduates you've influenced. Over 1,500 grads. I want to make sure I got that number right. That's over 40% of the total number of test pilot school grads since the school was born in 1944. 40%. I mean, that's an incredible influence.
No wonder you're a
Maybe I should speak louder too. I don't know how his hearing is going. No, mine's not so good. But you know, so I think we might have found a root cause for some of the problems we have out there. Just think. I mean, the grads that he's influenced have gone on to test every major weapons system the U.S. Air Force has modified and deployed in the last 2 decades, and probably will work on for the next couple of decades to come. That is an incredible influence. That's impact. As I put here, not just another TPS instructor. So that's a little perspective on Evil Bill, the test pilot instructor. Now, let me tell you about a different guy, Evil Bill, the physicist. He's always been trying to understand the world around him. That natural curiosity is what led him to TPS in the first place. I mean, he was flying 111s in Europe, 800 feet, in the weather, at night, 400 feet, 800 feet to climb to get to the pattern, 400 feet down to low levels in Scotland. He was bored. So that curiosity brought him to TPS in the first place, and he's kind of found that natural curiosity a place it could flourish, and that was as chief test pilot at TPS. His search there has led to many discoveries in the flight test world, the flight dynamics world, the flying qualities world, and the influence he's had has been tremendous. I can't cover all of them. You've got a couple of his publications, and I don't think we put many in the handout. There's dozens and dozens. He's presented papers for years of all the stuff he's done, but I'm just going to read a couple of them so you can get a picture, and many of the family and friends may not be aware of these things. Pilot-induced oscillation research. Evil developed the boundary avoidance tracking, BAT theory, which reduced pilot-induced oscillation. So that's PIO, pilot-in-the-loop oscillation, which can be an instability in the human-machine system. And in order to try to understand that, he developed something called a workload buildup flight test technique. So a technique that pilots can use to help discover these instabilities and potentially avert a catastrophic human-pilot interface. And when I say catastrophic, they usually end very poorly. So he's trying to find ways to help us discover that in a disciplined manner. Time safety margin. So Evil created a simplified. Okay, we need a. Where's Phoenix? We need to work on this podium here. It's coming apart. Well, an inside joke. You guys will get that. Time safety margin. Evil created a simplified method for dive recovery planning called the time safety margin. This method was developed, the motivation, unfortunately, after a tragic loss of a good friend in an F-22 accident. And I know that touches home to a number of people here today. TSM, time safety margin, is now required as a risk mitigation standard for U.S. Air Force developmental tests, and it's used really across Europe by multiple test organizations. So 15 years ago or so, we were struggling a little bit at TPS with some of the basic flying skills of our students. They just didn't seem to have the stick and rudder prowess that we expected from, old-timers. So Evil developed something called the Comprehensive Candidate Evaluation Program, where we could screen the pilot candidates before the selection process. The goal being to pick the best capable test pilots. And we had data that showed that was very successful. We had a significant reduction, I got a number here somewhere, over 75% reduction in the number of pilots that were washing out of the program over a 15-year period. So picking better pilots, and for my staff members in here, that reduces your workload a lot. So thank Evil for that. More PIO research. Handling qualities experts always looking for those instabilities. Developed another technique that students will get to know well called the Switch-Induced Simulated Pilot-in-the-Loop Oscillation, or SIS-PIO, flight test technique. It's really a great way to help our students understand a little more of what PIO is and try to provide a lower risk assessment of the PIO susceptibility of the vehicle. And these techniques were recently used on the B-21. So it's out in the field doing great things. Another thing that's incredibly awesome, it was an idea born at the ops desk by a bunch of folks just sitting around brainstorming and talking about some of the problems they had. And it's called Deathclaw. Got a great name. Did you come up with that, or was that Bipole, or is Bipole? Deathclaw. So it was demonstrating a novel autopilot technique that we could fly on Vista and help mature that rapid maturation of autonomy software. What a concept, 15 years ago, 10 years ago now. And it was going to dramatically improve the ability to do and the accuracy for air-to-ground strafing, for fixed and moving targets. So we matured that quickly, kicked it over to the F-16 world. They matured it, and it's being fielded currently operationally in the Viper. I don't know if it's in the F-18 or F-35 yet. Does anybody else know? I know they're working on it. Navy's a little slower, so they haven't gotten there yet. But F-35, probably too much bureaucracy, but they'd be stupid not to implement this type of technology. AI research, even before it was the hot topic it is today. Chief Test Pilot for Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, that we know affectionately as DARPA, Autonomy Combat Evolution, which we call ACE, so we can say DARPA ACE. It's a lot easier than having to spell out all those words. That program was ongoing for a number of years. We had other graduates involved developing some really interesting AI software and doing a lot of simulation studies with competition and trying to sell this new technology. And we ended up integrating it into the X-62, Evil being at the forefront of that. And the great benefit of it was understanding all the pitfalls of bringing the software from the sim, where it worked fabulously, surprisingly, into the real world, where it maybe didn't, and trying to understand that. So it's a great way to improve the technology. But what we were able to demonstrate in that particular program was the first use of machine learning for autonomous control of a combat aircraft in an air-to-air dogfight with another manned fighter. First time. So that groundbreaking effort in the X-62 got the team to be a finalist for the 2024 Robert J. Collier Trophy as the most important achievement in aviation over that past year. I personally think it should have won, but I think it was just ahead of its time, truly. You know, we'll see when this technology ends up maturing and we can start getting operational, that team will win a Collier Trophy for sure. That's what happened with Auto ACAS. I want to see that happen quick. National Academy of Science. So he's not just in our little community here. So for the last 5 years or so, Evil has been a member of the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine's Aeronautic and Space Advisory Board. So he's guiding the nation's top scientists, engineering leadership at high levels in the United States, and he was the only test pilot to ever serve on this particular board. And for the youngsters in the audience, the more we can get experienced testers into high levels to work with the decision makers, the better decisions they're going to make, because our disciplined approach makes a huge impact on decision making. So I think you can see that Evil isn't just a TPS instructor pilot. It's a little more depth there. World-renowned expert in aircraft handling qualities, flight control systems test, contributed significantly to the Air Force's success over the last 22 years, 6 months, 4 hours, 27 minutes. Just a remarkable, absolutely remarkable career. I know in the Air Force we like to summarize things, and I should have just started with this, and we could have finished a long time ago. You know, 4 or 5 bullets I wrote down for Evil. If I had to break it into the bullet format, top of the list, devoted husband to his amazing wife, Lisa. Second is right beside her, you know, a loving father to his daughter, Alex, and his son, William. That's the core of his family. I had a great story about that, but they told me I didn't have time when I hacked my watch last night. I was speaking along. Ask me later. Third, a patriot. He's devoted his entire professional career to serving his country. That seems to be out of vogue these days, but what an amazing impact an individual like that can make. A true explorer, and certainly an exceptional experimental test pilot, dedicated instructor, mentor, and molder of flight test skill and judgment. Evil, thank you. Thank you for your service to your country. Thank you for your dedication and devotion to TPS. You know, our mission, our staff, the instructors, most importantly, the students. Tireless efforts, educating over, like we said, 1,500 TPS grads that are going to go on to do great things for this country and that of our allies for decades to come. Personally, thank you for our friendship. Your sage advice, your creative and often entertaining anecdotes. May hear a few of those throughout the rest of the afternoon. And in all those discussions we had together with the goal of trying to, I really think we've helped turn TPS into the world-class institution it is today. So it's been a great ride, my friend. Best of luck.
Thank you, Mr. Van Hoy. We would now like to invite Colonel Tower to join Evil at center stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the Outstanding Civilian Career Service Award. The Department of the Air Force presents the Outstanding Civilian Career Service Award to Mr. William R. Gray III in recognition of his outstanding contributions to the Department of the Air Force from 26 January 2004 to 10 July 2026. Most notably as Chief Test Pilot, United States Air Force Test Pilot School, Air Force Test Center, and Air Force Material Command, Edwards Air Force Base, California. During this period, Mr. Gray exemplified selfless dedication to public service. As a world-renowned expert in aircraft handling qualities and flight control systems, flight test, and analysis, he contributed significantly to the art, science, and education of Air Force discipline tests. He changed the way the Air Force conducts dive testing, pilot-induced oscillation evaluations, and development of advanced autonomy control systems. His vision and expertise enhanced the abilities of over 1,500 graduates of the United States Air Force Test Pilot School. The distinctive accomplishments of Mr. Gray culminate a distinguished career with the United States government and reflect great credit upon himself and Department of the Air Force. Thank you, Colonel Tower. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. We will now present the Certificate of Service from the Department of the Air Force. It reads, Certificate of Service from the United States Air Force. This is to recognize Mr. William R. Gray III for 22 years of faithful and devoted federal civilian service on the occasion of retirement from employment with the United States Air Force, given this 10th day of July, 2026. Signed, Major General Scott A. Kane, Commander, Air Force Test Center. Mrs. Gray, would you please join us on stage to place the retirement pin on your husband's lapel? Every retiree receives a special retirement pin as a memento of their federal civilian service. Mrs. Gray, at this time, we ask you to place this pin on your husband's lapel to symbolize his transition to retirement. When worn with business attire, this pin will serve to remind all of Evil Bill's dedicated civilian service to the United States Air Force. Sir, please wear this pin proudly. Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now present Mrs. Gray with a certificate from the Department of the Air Force in recognition for her dedication and service. It reads, Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Air Force in grateful appreciation. The United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Mrs. Lisa Gray for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service, given this 10th day of July, 2026. Thank you, Mrs. Gray. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Air Force Test Pilot School will now offer a special tribute to Evil Bill. Today, we gather to honor a remarkable individual who has dedicated a significant part of his life to service and excellence. As we present this flag, we do so not only to recognize his achievements, but also to celebrate his unwavering commitment to our values and community. This flag symbolizes the ideals of freedom, duty, and sacrifice, reflecting the spirit of teamwork and collaboration that has characterized his career. To our retiree, thank you for your leadership, your mentorship, and the countless lives you have touched along the way. As this flag is presented to you, may it serve as a reminder of the lasting impact you have made and the legacy you leave behind. May it accompany you into your next chapter, inspiring pride in your past and excitement for the future ahead. We wish all the best in your retirement and thank you for your incredible service. This flag was flown on 13 missions, including the following aircraft: T-38, F-15, F-16, F-117, T-62, X-62, T-7, B-21, X-59, among many others. And now we have a special presentation from Mr. Van Hoy and Dr. Freeborn. Sonic, please join us on stage.
Thanks, Starsky. All right. My notes here. First, just a little history on this particular recognition. 2008, through the efforts of a number of folks at TPS, especially Commandant at the time, Andy Gerner, TPS was allowed to award a master's degree in flight test engineering. We'd kind of become an official university. Now, we constantly improve our academic rigor. That never stops. It wasn't until, oddly, till 2020, I don't even remember who recognized it. It might have been Sonic here. You know, we can award academic ranks to our professors. That's something that they do in all other universities. Why don't we do the same? So the ranks are lecturer, instructor, senior instructor, assistant professor, associate professor, professor. Run those whole realm there. Each level is based on academic achievement, test and teaching experience, scholarship, and service. Awarding the rank up to associate professor was delegated to the TPS Commandant. Awarding the rank of professor was retained by the Air University 3-star commander. As the most senior flight test educators at TPS, myself, Doc Cotting, and Evil Bill here, we comprised a review and recommendation panel that would review candidates every year and submit our recommendations to the Commandant, who would award the official academic ranks. And we have awarded, I didn't count this up, but 20 or 30 different ranks over the years that range the whole spectrum. The challenge to get to assistant, associate, and professor is it's an extremely high bar. There's only a few associate professors in the schoolhouse right now, and there are 0 professors. So I would say that the way we evaluated these folks, Sonic did a great job putting together a rigorous set of criteria, and we put them into an OI, and it was based on things they did at Air University and AFIT and the Academy, and we had the rigor to have all those folks involved, and then we made it more difficult because we really wanted the ranks at TPS to stand out, and we brought in some experience-based criteria. Because most of the time, at all universities, to hit the assistant professor level, you have to have a PhD. And there's nobody given a PhD in flight test yet. One day, maybe we can. So we had to do a number of things to make sure that happened. So at the time, we planned to submit 3 of us to Air University to be an initial cadre of professors. This is a long tale. You want to hear about it? Buy me a beer afterwards, probably 2. So I'm going to skip through that. Just know that this year we re-engaged and really put pressure on AU with the professor packages, and we really wanted one of those ones to go through. Epic work by Sonic Freeborn here, by our folks in our curriculum standards branch, pressure from Colonel Carlin to push these things through. And finally, this week, 2 days ago, we were cleared hot, because that's the way we do things, last minute, cleared hot by Dr. Yolanda Williams, their university provost and chief academic officer, from a decision by Lieutenant General Tully, the AU commander, to proceed with our requested academic rank. Sonic?
All right. It is my distinct pleasure to announce today that Mr. William R. Gray III, having met all academic, teaching, scholarship, and service requirements, is hereby A USAF test pilot school. And just to reemphasize how big a deal this is, he is the first and currently only professor in flight test engineering.
Thank you, Dr. Freeborn and Mr. Van Hoy. You may be seated. We now have several letters of appreciation to read. First, from the 412th Test Wing Commander. It reads, Dear Mr. William Gray, it is my honor and distinct pleasure to congratulate you on the auspicious occasion of your retirement from federal civil service. Your immeasurable contributions have made an everlasting positive impact on the United States Air Force and the defense of the United States over the course of your 22 years of dedicated service. You can take immense pride in your steadfast commitment to striving for excellence in a career hallmarked with significant achievement and countless successes. As the first Civil Service Chief Test Pilot of the USAF Test Pilot School, you led the modernization of a world-class curriculum, executing thousands of high-risk instructional sorties that enabled the graduation of more than 1,500 elite test pilots and flight test engineers, spanning more than 60 classes. While advancing the science of aircraft control and flight test methodology, your keen knowledge and precise understanding of test and evaluation operations directly translated into the creation of the time safety margin, an internationally recognized measure now required across all USAF developmental flight test programs. You played a vital role in key modernization efforts, aiding in the experimental testing of airborne artificial intelligence agents as the safety pilot for the X-62A Vista. Finally, you were a driving force in the international flight test community, culminating a legendary aviation career spanning 7,000 flight hours across nearly 100 aircraft types and earning the highly prestigious 2017 Chanute Flight Test Award from the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics and the 2017 Doolittle Award from the Society of Experimental Test Pilots for outstanding flight test engineering achievement. Your performance has exceeded all expectations and set worthwhile examples for others to follow. I am honored and proud to have served with a dedicated civil servant of your caliber, whose devotion to duty will be emulated by many, and a professional who epitomizes the best traditions of the Air Force. On behalf of a grateful nation, and especially the men and women of the 412th Test Wing, thank you for your dedicated and devoted service. I wish you a happy and successful future. Sincerely, Thomas M. Tower, Colonel, USAF, Commander, 412 Test Wing. We would now like to present a letter of appreciation from the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. Sir.
No, where is it? Yeah. This one right here? Yes, sir. All right. Yeah, Dave asked me to read this as a past president of the society. There are at least 5 of us in this room. I did think that it appropriate, however, because I was on the board for several years, and then I wasn't. And then Bill asked me to be on his board, which eventually led to me being eventually the president of the society. So in the end, I thought it was appropriate, Dave, that you would ask me to read this on behalf of Kelly. So from Kelly Latimer, Dear Bill, on the behalf of the Board of Directors and the entire membership of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots, it is an honor and a distinct privilege to congratulate you on your retirement from an extraordinary and esteemed career as a test pilot. While you may be hanging up your flight suit, your departure from active flight tests gives us the perfect opportunity to pause and recognize your invaluable lifelong contributions to the aerospace community, and most notably, your fierce dedication to SETP. For decades, you have been one of our most active members and our most ardent supporter. And the Society is undeniably stronger because of your leadership. Your legacy within the SETP is woven into the very fabric of how we operate, serving on the Board of Directors for 7 years, culminating your tenure as Society President, demonstrated a profound commitment to our mission. Beyond your executive leadership, your hands-on dedication as chairman of the annual symposium and your own written work, technical presentations have consistently elevated our professional discourse. In particular, your persistent push to increase the number of written papers accompanying symposium presentations has profoundly transformed our annual proceedings, making them more robust, scholarly, and valuable each passing year. Furthermore, your tireless, robust efforts to streamline the membership criteria and application process have dismantled unnecessary complexities, making it easier for the next generation of test pilots to apply, upgrade their status, and find their home within the Society, a feat that has earned you the enduring gratitude of the membership committee. Fortunately for us, retirement from flight test does not mean retirement from SETP. Yay! Your current work on the Constitution and SOP committee is vital. It didn't have the yay part in there. I just made that up. Okay. Foundation effort that will positively impact the governance and direction of the Society for years to come. The Society has benefited immeasurably from your passion, sharp intellect, and relentless hard work over the past few decades. We owe you a great debt of gratitude, and while we celebrate the conclusion of a magnificent flying career, we look forward to your continued wisdom, wit, and contributions in the chapters ahead. Wishing the very best in a well-deserved retirement. Warmest regards, Kelly Latimer, President, the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. So, thank you. I'll just say real quick, I've always admired your intellect. You and I have worked together for years. Ironically, I know your wife longer than I've known you, since we were in AV 100 together as a cadet at the academy when we were freshmen. It has always been great working with you. We were instructors together for a while when I was on as a guest IP down there. And it's a shame we didn't get you at NASA, but you're in the right place. You really were, and you've made more of an impact than most people will ever realize, and I think Dave summed it up so well. So thank you, and we know that you're going to continue to shape all of flight test for years to come. Thanks.
Thank you, Niels. We would now like to present a letter of appreciation from CalSpan. It reads, Evil Bill, on behalf of the entire CalSpan team at Edwards and Niagara Falls, I want to express our deepest gratitude for your 22 years of unwavering support. Your leadership in advancing the use of variable stability simulators has been nothing short of transformative, not only for the USAF Test Pilot School curriculum, but also for countless research efforts that depend on these capabilities. What truly sets you apart, however, is how you've inspired those around you. Engineers, test pilots, and maintainers alike have consistently risen to their highest potential under your patient guidance. Your curious nature and genuine care for each team member created an environment where people felt empowered to learn, experiment, and grow, even during the hottest, longest, and most frustrating days on the job. Time and again, you faced challenging circumstances with remarkable composure. Where others might have reacted hastily, you chose measured responses and steady leadership. That quiet resilience earned you something far deeper than professional respect. It earned our trust and our friendship. Your influence will be felt long after this chapter closes. Thank you for your service, your mentorship, and the lasting mark you've left on all of us. Every member of the Calspan family looks forward to crossing paths with you again in the future. With sincere appreciation, Brian Ernest, Vice President of Engineering, Chief Test Pilot, Calspan Corporation. And we now have a letter of appreciation from Lockheed Martin. It reads, Mr. Gray scratched out now evil. On behalf of Lockheed Martin Aeronautics, thank you for your 22.5 years of service to the United States Air Force Test Pilot School and for your partnership with our team. Your leadership as Chief Instructor Pilot for the Vista X-62A program and as Chief Test Pilot has helped advance one of the Air Force's most important test and training capabilities. Through your expertise, professionalism, and commitment to developing the next generation of test pilots, you have been a cornerstone of the school's success. Beyond the cockpit, you've invested countless hours in classrooms and technical briefings, shaping the direction of some of the most critical test projects that have influenced the future air superiority of the United States Air Force. You have reinforced the collaborative spirit that is required for successful test campaigns of humanity's most complex systems. Your mentorship of the USAF's brightest test pilots has left an indelible mark on a new generation of aviators, instilling in them the rigorous standards and innovative mindset that are hallmarks of both the Air Force and Lockheed Martin. As a fellow aviator, I know the responsibility that comes with preparing others to fly and fight at the highest level. The standards you've set and the people you've mentored will continue to have an impact long after your final flight. Congratulations on an outstanding career, and thank you for your service, your leadership, and everything you've done to strengthen our nation's air power. I wish you and your family all the best in your future pursuits. Eyes forward. Sincerely, O.J. Sanchez. At this time, we have several folks who will present Evil Bill with retirement gifts. We now invite Colonel Tower.
I actually thought we were going to do airing of grievances first, because I had a couple of questions. I went back and looked at a few of my flying qualities grade sheets from 2014, and I had a couple questions about them, but I'm going to forego that for now. So I have a little token on behalf of the wing, but really I just wanted to say it is a privilege to get to say that I flew with a legend. That's, I think, for all of us who have had that same opportunity would feel the same. Your impact, Mr. Van Hoy said it very well. Like, you have made more of an impact on our test community than probably anyone else who's touched Edwards Air Force Base. So, really proud to have gotten to fly with you, gotten to serve with you. And I'd love to pass this on.
Our next gift will be from the TPS Operations Assassin.
Just a few words. I first showed up at Edwards in 2018 when I was part of the CCEP, interviewing to be a student at TPS. And when I heard that I was going to be flying with Evil Bill in the T-38, I was shaking my boots, as most of you probably would. But what I quickly found out in the brief and in the jet was that he was one of the most genuine people I had met. He just wanted to make me feel welcome and help me be the best pilot I could be, and get me into TPS, which you did. So thank you. And then I showed up about 9 months later or so as a student at TPS. And the same thing, I kind of forgot what had happened during CCEP. I heard about Evil Bill. He's coming to instruct us. We're going to fly with him, once again terrified. And once again, he was the same guy that he'd been 9 months earlier. I left for about 5 or 6 years after graduating and came back on staff. And I was like, oh, I'm sure Evil hasn't changed. And then I see him for the first time in the hallway, and he's got this magnificent flow going on. Probably the best flow seen at TPS, I'm guessing, because most of us aren't allowed to grow out that type of flow. Doc is probably a close second. But, and he's still the same guy. I thought he might be, in an all-out rage, post-modernization or something, but he was all good. And then I stepped into the DO role, and once again, fully intimidated to be sharing a wall with Evil, feeling very humbled and not at all qualified to sit in the office next to him. But he always proves himself to be extremely authentic and, as people have said prior, very passionate about what he does and just fully invested. And Dave kind of stole my thunder, but I was going to talk about his Finney double turn, if you will. So I got to fly in the second to last Finney of his. He was flying his T-38 Finney. I was in the F-16 flying one of the dissimilar chase rides, and he talked about how he didn't care about the glitzy and the shiny penny of a Finney. He wanted to get one last chance to pour into us as instructors and send us off to pour into future testers and the students that we have at TPS. And that's just the kind of guy that Evil is. And anyone who knows that or knows him knows that about him. It's going to be a real tragedy when you actually step foot outside TPS for the last time, or inside TPS for the last time. I hope that's not for many years to come, even though you won't be flying with us, because I think you have a lot more to give and a lot more, many more years of students worth to pour into. So thank you for all you've done. We have a small token appreciation, technically from Flight Ops. Yeah, it's a metaphor. From Flight Ops, but it's really from the whole school. We got as many people to sign it as we could who are currently on staff. I think this is a great opportunity with all the legends we have in the room. If you've ever served on staff with Evil, which is probably most of you, please take the opportunity to sign it over here before you leave today. And it's going to be a pretty epic leave behind. So thanks for all you've done. Thank you for being a mentor and a true teacher and professional in this craft. Thank you.
Thank you, Assassin. Our next gift is from the TPS Research Division. Folks, if you would please join me on stage.
All right. Okay, Evil. First, before we talk about the research division, as one of the very many number of DOs that have served across the wall from you, I just want to say thanks, because that year and a half that I was there was never a time that I couldn't just jump over, ask you anything, and then you tell me like, no, Phoenix, that's a dumb idea, and then I would go back, and the thing was I took it as a challenge. I figured if I couldn't convince Evil that my idea was either new or good, then I hadn't done my due diligence, right? Because he's been around so long, and there's value in wisdom. And so you talked me out of a lot of dumb decisions. Maybe I convinced you on a couple. At least I'll 10% truth that. But no, I do very much appreciate it, and I know that moving forward, Assassin, hopefully if you're not right next door, maybe sleeping in a more comfortable bed, that you'll still have the the ability to phone a friend every once in a while for the DOs to come. Anyway, then post that job, took over the research division, and that's what I'm supposed to talk about up here. we already talked a little bit about, or Dave mentioned his extensive role as the chief safety pilot for Vista, which has been a large part of the research being done at TPS over these past 5 years that I've been there. It's always been, a critical component of our safety build-up process to have Evil there with his, extensive experience. One anecdotal kind of experience that he had in the cockpit was with an agent called Linguini. So we were doing a Have Remy project. It was the first time we're flying this new LVC, live virtual constructive environment on Vista, where we had a fake missile coming in, and the jet was going to maneuver to try to evade this missile. And we knew it was kind of a dumb agent going in, but we had this one particular agent, and it's one of those. We talked about things happen in the sim, everything works fine, and so it's obviously going to work airborne. And this particular agent was a reinforcement learned agent, and it had an incentive to try to maintain its energy state, right? So that's always good. You don't want to burn off a bunch of energy when you're trying to evade from a missile. Well, what we found out with Evil flying in the seat, thankfully, is that one way you can maximize your energy is just point straight down and go full throttle. On it, Dave. And so I am not an artist, but thankfully Jan is a great artist. He's got some lithos in a lot of places around the test center. But he drew a picture of Evil in Vista. Now, he's in the back, right? Because he's the safety pilot. For those who don't know, all of the important controls in Vista were moved from the front seat to the rear cockpit. So he lives in the rear cockpit, but gets to fly like he's in the front seat, except for that noggin in your front. And then this particular picture, so there's kind of like two stories being told here. One is your Finney flight with Dave. So if you look in the front here, it's got Dave Van Hoy in the front, you in the back. That was your Vista Finney. There's so many Finney flights. But this was your Vista Finney flight. So it's kind of a picture of that. And then also, you got your hands up, showing that the A has got control of the aircraft. And it talks about the test point, what was it? 0120, which was Linguini when it tried to kill you by maximizing its energy. So anyway, I'll let Jan present it to you because he's the artist.
Our next presentation of gifts will be from the TPS leadership, Dr. Freeborn and Mr. Van Hoy.
All right, well, Dave is fetching. I do have a couple things. Who here has flown with Evil either as a student or as an upgrade? Show of hands. So, of all of those you raise your hand, did anybody here not learn something from that? So, Dave already stole a little bit of where I was going to go with this, but he likes to use analogy and metaphors, and we've talked about the recipe, the cook versus the chef. So I think we're all familiar with that. But he always uses it to great effect. So as a smartass, I was going to attach a blank piece of paper to the back of this with a recipe on how to build a litho presentation. And then I said, nah, you'd scoff at that. So kudos to Chef Julie for putting this together, the master. But Evil, on behalf of the school, seriously, thank you. You have left an impact. Others have said, more are going to say it. Not just on the entire nation when it comes to the flight test and the capabilities of putting downstream, but personally for the people that have flown with you, and always look forward to it. I look forward to seeing you again down the hallway. So thank you.
So I heard from Lisa they didn't have enough airplane models at home. And just exterior motives here is just having that sit around. Maybe Eva will kind of long for flying again. And we still have opportunities to fly in the front seat, do some research. So what I want to do now is I think they got my lecture slides. We're going to talk about how cool this airplane is and the neuromorphic AI we're working. And it's everybody just sit seat, ready? Bring all the students here, get your notepads out. No, I won't go that route. I'm going to go a different route. The paint scheme on this airplane is unique. One of the things about it, Eva was intimately involved with, it had to do with the airplane was going to depot. It was getting completely redone. And we thought, what an opportunity to change the paint scheme. And Eva walked in and goes, I'm tired of those damn tankers asking me what Thunderbird I am. Because the airplane was, white and blue, and it looked sort of like a Thunderbird, but not. And so we started talking and thought, how about some heritage? And let's talk about some flight test portions to this. And see, back there remembers these days. He was a key member, General Higer, making it happen, Colonel Higer at the time. And we started sketching out some different ideas, and we brought in an aviation artist because we're not all as talented as Jan. If he would have had him on staff, we might not have needed him. We brought in Mike Machat, who, if many of you know, is a world-renowned aviation artist and does a lot with the flight test world. And he came in and sketched out some things, some different ideas. We wanted orange because it was flight test orange, and it was kind of representative of a lot of the airplanes that had flown support missions at Edwards for a number of years. We brought in the maintainers, so we wanted blue underneath on the belly, because the old airplane was all white under there, and they would bust their ass every time it came back to wipe that airplane down. It was the cleanest airplane on the ramp, maybe in the Air Force, and we're trying to make their life a little easier. That hopefully we did. Blue underneath, white and orange on the top. And we actually, after it was painted and we brought it back to Edwards, we had Mike Machat come out and sign the airplane. So he signed it, and his signature can be seen in the model right here on the side. So it's just, there's so many depths of stories that we can tell about so many different things, but I thought that'd be a unique one that Evil participated in, and hopefully it'll be an incentive to keep him involved in TPS a little bit. All right, thanks.
I don't need much incentive to keep working at Test Pilot School. Something special about that model, it has my name under the back seat, put the pilot's name on the thing. Under the front seat, it's never been there on the real airplane, but it needs to be on their model, is Dave's name. My last flight in Vista was with Dave. Put him in the front seat, and we no kidding, legitimately tried to do test points. Not very well, because, we weren't all briefed into what was going on, but I think we helped a little bit. And that was my Infinity flight in the airplane. But more importantly, that airplane exists because of Dave and his work. It's an expensive machine. Even people at Edwards don't always understand it. It was always on the chopping block, and somehow Dave was always the guy that managed to pull it off that chopping block, and we got one more year out of it. So I can't think of a better person to have their name on the front of that airplane than my friend Dave.
Do we have any other gifts to present? No? Okay. At this point in time, we are going to take a 10-minute break. We will resume in 10 minutes, and then we will resume with some videos that were sent in for Evil. So thank you for your time. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone was able to get refreshments, beer, wine, and enough cake to make it through the rest of the event. We're going to start back with informal presentations of videos now. We will now play videos from those who were not able to attend today's ceremony. If you will go ahead and begin playing the videos.
Evil. Well, this truly is the end of an era. My conception of Test Pilot School is intricately connected with you and your influence. From my pre-TPS days at AFIT, where you were my boundary avoidance tracking thesis advisor, to my days as a TPS student, where you were my instructor, mentor, TMP advisor, to my days as the Commandant, where you were my chief test pilot and trusted advisor. I haven't known a test pilot school that doesn't include Bill Gray. Your unsurpassed skills as a test pilot and instructor, your innovative ideas, your clarity of thought, and your passion for your work have always been an inspiration to me. You're going to be sorely missed at TPS. But, like all good leaders, you've set the organization up for success so that it can continue on without you. So even though it won't quite be the same without you at TPS, I know that the organization will continue to be successful due to your decades-long contributions. I'd hope to be able to deliver this message to you in person, but my current test duties have called me away this weekend. And if there's one thing you've taught me over the years, it's dedication to my role as a test pilot. So perhaps it's a fitting tribute to you as my mentor that I'm delivering this message to you virtually as I try to live out the dedication to flight test that you modeled for me. So thank you for all you've done for TPS and for me. Congratulations on your well-deserved retirement. We're all better for having known you.
Hi, Bill. This is Chris Cotting, and I'd like to say, first off, congratulations on a long and distinguished career. I wish I could be there to help you celebrate with Lisa. Unfortunately, I'm on the other coast now. But in the time we've had at Test Pilot School, I really enjoyed the opportunities we had to encourage each other, challenge each other, sometimes disagree, sometimes agree, but in the end, push forward flight testing in a very positive way. I look forward to continuing to work with you even as you have retired. I know that you have plans to keep doing that, and wish you all the best, and I hope that you get to enjoy not having to commute on a regular basis and get to spend more time with family. So congratulations, all the best, and look forward to seeing you again here soon.
Bill, congratulations on your retirement, and congratulations to Lisa for putting up with you all these years. I was happy to have you on JT3 for a very brief period of time back in 2003. I'm so glad you made such a success at the Test Pilot School. Sorry I can't be there tonight, but hope you have a wonderful retirement. Hope to see you and Lisa soon. Thanks, Pete Witters. Bye.
Evil Bill Gray, congratulations on a well-earned retirement. I want to say thank you as a former student, the Mayans, 12 Alpha. We appreciated everything you did for us. But even more so, thank you as a fellow cadre member. I have watched you pour yourself into each and every student year in and year out, making them and our craft better. It's truly been humbling. So I hope you enjoy your retirement, and that we get to see you again after not too long. All right, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would now like to welcome a few guest speakers to say a few words about Evil Bill. It is my honor to welcome Brigadier General Mark Massaro, Commander, Air Force Test Center. Sir, the floor is yours.
All right. So, Evil, as a former student, you're always learning from you, and you're always instilling knowledge. I've learned a couple of things today that I'll share. The first thing is, and there might be 10% truth here, but going through Test Pilot School, you learn how to run PowerPoint. I think it was you that taught me that the button B makes the screen black when you have a slideshow going. Number two, I think we might have made it too hard to reach professor status, that retirement is a requirement. to achieve that status. Yep. So, and the third thing I've learned today is I think you've grown in your ability to transfer knowledge, and unfortunately, I was there too early to achieve some knowledge transfer. I've noticed that the newer graduates and you have a much better do than some of the older graduates that are here. So maybe I need to learn that test technique on how to make it come back. But seriously, though, there's so many stories out here. I've got a couple, but truly, and I'll get into it just a little bit there. You are a true paragon of this profession here, and to be part of it, one of the things that I always struggled to understand was how I got accepted into test pilot school. Once I got here and understand the quality of people that are part of this community, that are in this crowd right now, that the excellence that's here, and sometimes I always look and go, they picked me to show other people that they can do it too. And you're one of those at the very top of that. And there's a couple others, and some of them are in this crowd here too that I look up to and have looked up to. But as we've heard throughout the second part of your career that we're celebrating the retirement of, they have a start at some point. And I was close to the beginning I was with you and got to know you at the beginning of your time in the beginning of your chief test pilot. So instructor at Luke Air Force Base on my second operational tour there, and had just been accepted to test pilot school. And my commander, anytime a test pilot would come through the SOC course, would shovel me over there to gain a little mentorship. And Evil was coming through just prior to getting his check ride and coming here. So we met at the ops desk of the Wild Ducks, the 309th Fighter Squadron, met up, and I told him, hey, I'm your CFI for the check ride tomorrow. And I'm going to test pilot school in the fall. So love to chat with you. Let's prep for the check ride. And he came up with the agenda for the check ride. And so as a good instructor, as a good mentor, I learned a couple of things on that check ride. One is don't get behind on a level Excel on a flight test technique there. But you instructed me on how to make sure that I maintain that position as a evaluator, giving you that evaluation. And then as you would expect, he achieved a Q1 no hits and commendable on that check ride. Fast forward 6 months, I show up to test pilot school. I get to the ops desk. I'm like, Evil, do you remember me? I was your CFI for the check pilot. He's like, oh, I absolutely remember you. His comments to me and to everybody at the ops desk was, yes, he was my check ride on the SOC course. And he told me he was going to test pilot school right at the ops desk the day prior. And he said, at that moment, I knew, easiest check ride ever. I think I earned a little bit of cred there, hopefully. I got through TPS with Evil as one of my instructors. But truly, I mean, you set the tone there, and I understood what I was getting into with the quality of instruction and the airmanship that you have. Going through test pilot school was fantastic. And then post-test pilot school, the list of things that you've contributed, I can almost every single one of them at some point in the intervening 17 plus years now, since actually almost 20 years since test pilot school, I've used or been a beneficiary of TSM practice in the F-35 in 2013 to 15 when we were doing loads test. Deathclaw. We had a special moment in SAF PA when you helped me do an interview with Aviation Week on that, and to see where things like that have gone. All of the work on the PIO work there, there's certain things that just you have indelible memories, and the time in test pilot school and carrying that discipline forward throughout that intervening career, and then just watching the development of every test pilot in this room that's serving on active duty, and some that are retired that are here as well that have been beneficiaries of your work and your dedication. I have a note here. I'm not going to read it like everybody else read, but I will hand it to you. You can read later, and I've got just a little thing.
Thank you, General Massaro. We will now welcome the 38th Commandant of the Air Force Test Pilot School, Colonel Noel Shemu Zamat, United States Air Force, retired.
Hello and welcome. Do not adjust your sets. My name is Shemu and I'm actual size. Never thought this day would come, buddy. There's not enough ink on this planet to talk about the impact that Evil Bill has had on quite literally generations of test professionals. Not enough words to convey his professionalism, his qualities as a test pilot, as a gentleman, as a scholar. There are, however, more than enough words to describe how this man can put down paella and red wine and manchego cheese when you have him over for a staff event at your house and you look at your wife and go, we didn't need to clean the pan. Bill did it for us. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Everybody has a story. We've heard a lot. I'm not going to rehash everything. Instead, I'll tell you a personal story. Test Pilot School was my third command. Unfortunately, like many blue patch wearers, the service had decided to send me on some extracurricular side quests every now and then. So I remember Bill Thornton, Thunder, my classmate, and then the A3 going, hey, dude, you're going to be the commandant. I go, dude, I haven't done a test point in anger in many years. He goes, that's not a lot. You're there, go and learn. So I show up, a little rusty, still wearing the patch, my OG patch, by the way. It's very faded. And Bill had every right to basically go, who the hell are you? Instead, what we ended up having was many conversations that started off about flight test, went into leadership, went into life. And many a time, I treasured the times that we sat in your office. I went to your office, by the way. And that's not, ooh, I went to his office. No, it's because you seek wisdom when you see it. We close the door and talk about anything. I retired, and like many of us, then we go on other side quests. And like any good graduate of the school who says, I will never set foot on that building again, I went back, 20 times. And every time, Bill and I would reconnect, and no time had passed. And we could sit and talk about absolutely anything. I went into industry, talked about business. I went into public policy and service. We talk about politics, economic development. You know you're having a good conversation when you're talking about the book Gödel, Escher, Bach. Anybody knows that one? It's about that big, right? Several pounds. And we're having a deep discussion on what Ernst Gödel really meant. About 3 people on this audience will get that quote, but if you do, put it away because it's a deep cut. And the story is this, very personal. I don't think I've ever told you this. But I remember one time, one of the last times before this new volley of trips, and I had to go. We're having another deep conversation. And you looked at me and said, man, Shemu, I really enjoy these. We can talk about anything. I've never told you that that's one of the most sincere and one of the absolute best compliments that I've ever had in my life. That evil Bill Gray, whom I have very many stories about, and I won't tell them now, but if you buy me a beer like Dave, I'll tell you some, had the grace and the time and the wisdom to share so much. Things that I will carry for a long time. And it's all because of you. So, dude, this is not goodbye. It's see you later. See you soon, hopefully. But I just wanted everybody here to know, yeah, you're a shit-hot test pilot. You're a great dude. You're also a great man and a great friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Zamat. Ladies and gentlemen, the 40th Commandant of the Air Force Test Pilot School, Colonel Chuck Spider Webb, United States Air Force, retired.
Shamu is hard to follow, but I got a joke. We're going to do the joke. But Evil, Miss Lisa, family and friends, test professionals, it is a real honor to be up here today. We all have these evil stories. I've got many. We've hit a few of them, but I'll share a couple little vignettes. But I retired in 2020, and so I hadn't been back to the base almost 10 years. And I was driving around yesterday, and man, things have changed. They got a light on Wolf Avenue. Who knew? They replaced Subway with Wingstop. Probably an upgrade. But the most profound changes I saw, and this is just with a couple hours with Dave and Shamu, is the changes to the curriculum. I mean, there's infrastructure changes. There's a whole new building there, right? And entire new courses that are being offered to take this incredible disciplined approach to evaluating and assessing risk and turn it into something that space and our enlisted teammates can benefit from. And you and Dave are the way we got to that point. And so those changes caught me right off, just driving on base. But to Evil specifically, the first time I met him, it was 25 years ago. I think you were 50 at the time. I was joining class 01 Bravo. Dave, Bravos are still a little bit better than Alphas. Is that right? A little more capable? No? But Evil made a profound impact on me as a young fledgling tester, if you will, right? So I grew up in the fighter world, and, dragging the knuckles on the floor was actually embraced. And to find a cerebral fighter pilot, somebody that really invested in understanding why, not just how, and the pursuit of data and truth is something that set me up for an entire 20-year test career following that, Evil. And it all started with you. And then as I moved through my test career, a lot of different bases, a lot of different assignments, I got to see the things that Evil was accomplishing, and we've already articulated them. But TSM made a profound impact on me, Evil. Seeing the artist formerly known as Vista, now the X-62, become a national test bed, unique in the entire world of aviation, that was you. But one of the other more profound things that I saw that I benefited from, on the Commandant side, you chair the selection board, and you did some very interesting data analytics on what makes a successful student, correlating literally order of merit, if you will, at graduation versus the criteria that they were graded against. And some of the correlations you found were fascinating. Apparently, bald needs to be one that we need to put in there, given our distinguished leaders, but direct correlation, I would say 100%. But you made profound impacts in how we assess and how we select students, Evil, and that sets up generations of elite testers. And that was something that really impacted me as I was watching, if you will, from the outside. But then joining the team in 2014 as the old man, and getting to now partner with you and just get to see from a different perspective the passion, which is I think it's an adjective we've used many times, right? Pouring into students, pouring into instructors. I had a FAPE tour. I did several instructor tours. So I like to think that, I understand the sacred role of an instructor, but you took that to a new level. Anybody that ever flown with you or been in the audience when you were podium instructing is a better tester for it. And it was that discipline and that passion that I just don't think is very common. It was something really to behold. But probably the coolest thing I got to be a small part of in 2014 is we had a chance to submit Evil for the Doolittle Award. Quick aside, probably best day in the Air Force. I was a glider getting an upgrade. I had Gary Aldrich in the front. I had Jimmy D as my tow-pilot. You don't get much better than that. But we got to submit Evil for the Doolittle Award, essentially lifetime achievement in flight test. And got to be there the night of the annual symposium where you were selected for the award and, basically recognized in front of your peers. We're talking luminaries like Deke Slayton, Stafford, Rutan, and certainly Evil. You essentially joined the Hall of Fame of testers that night, and that was really cool to be part of. well, just a few comments that I'll throw out there. And again, I could go longer. Dave asked me to keep it to 30 minutes. I'll endeavor to do that. By the way, great job today. Great job, and Starsky and the team. You guys have really just knocked it out of the park. But I got to tell a joke, okay? I told this joke probably 2 times a year, probably 15 times in my 3 years here. So for the old timers, apologies. You've all heard it. Every graduation, it was mine, my little shtick. But it goes something like this. So Erwin Heisenberg and Werner Schrödinger are in a car. This has a tie to Bill. I'll bring it back. They're in a car. Heisenberg's driving. Cop pulls him over. Says, "Gentlemen, you know the speed limit here is 55. Do you know how fast you were going?" Heisenberg says, "No, but I know exactly where I'm at." Heisenberg, uncertainty principle, you can't know position and velocity simultaneously precisely. Yeah. So the officer goes, "Sir, you were going 67 miles an hour. Heisenberg says, "Now I'm lost." Officer says, "Gentlemen, I need to check this car for contraband." Open up the trunk. He runs around to the back of the trunk. You hear a shriek. He runs back up and he says, "Gentlemen, you know there's a dead cat in the trunk?" Schrödinger goes, "Now I do." So that's like an ultimate nerd joke. Youngins, you're not laughing. I'm telling you, this is what you're joining, by the way, gentlemen, ladies. But the interesting tidbit is Evil catches me the next day. He goes, "Spider, you had a problem with the joke." I'm like, "No, dude, that was Heisenberg and Schrödinger. You don't get better." And he goes, No. Heisenberg uncertainty principle says you can't know momentum and position simultaneously, precisely. And I said, touche, Evil. So I changed my joke. My joke then became, momentum. Maybe what's a little mass among friends, right? A little. I missed one term, but that just really showed to me the depth and the intellectual curiosity, Evil, that you possess. But that was a treat. Just to wrap up, I'll say, when I came on in 2014, I really looked at that opportunity as you borrow the Test Pilot School from Evil, Bill, and Dave. You gentlemen have been part of the legend that it has become, and my job is to give it back to you, hopefully 2 years later. In my case, I got a third, better than I found it, right? But you gentlemen are the reason why it is the institution it is today. And Evil, I met you 25 years ago, and you'd already been doing it for quite a while at that point. So your impact, as Dave mentioned, is profound. I thought Nova said it brilliantly, which is, I don't know a Test Pilot School without Evil. Right, that's all I know. Came out for 5 Flight. I met him in 2000, joined the class, and then 25 years later, it's still TPS and Evil and Dave. So that's pretty cool. But I'll just offer here in closing that Chief Test Pilot of the Air Force Test Pilot School, right? And with all due deference to our Navy brethren in the cute little school they got on the East Coast, USAF TPS is the premier institution in the world in flight test education. And you were the chief test pilot, the top test pilot in this profession of educating testers, Evil. And so you have made a profound and enduring impact. It was a real thrill, much like Shamu, the talks and the mentoring, the patience, and just the incredible contributions to this community will be remembered for many, many generations. So thank you, Evil. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you, Colonel Webb. We will now welcome a great friend, test pilot, and former CEO of the National Test Pilot School, Jim J.B. Brown. Sir, the floor is yours.
There are people in here that are shudder when I stand in front of a microphone. Well deserved. We're approaching the limits of human endurance here, so I'll try to be merciful. I've heard 22 years, I've heard 25 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to give you 31 and a half. I first met Bill at the duty desk of the 9th Fighter Squadron, Holloman Air Force Base. He was just finishing his 117 checkout, and I just showed up to get mine. And at the time, I was the Skunk Works' newest employee. We started working in early '95, and what we were doing we're developing and fielding the improvements to the F-117 based on lessons learned from the first Gulf War. We worked right alongside Tom Morgenfeld, a team of amazingly talented senior enlisted troops, a parade of squadron commanders, and one irascible test manager named Dennis Fernandez, who called us Heckle and Jekyll. So we were in such interesting programs. I mean, we were pretty busy. It was all follow-on tests, but good stuff. We integrated the ring laser gyro, or inertial navigation system, into the 117 that had a GPS tie-in. That was the Air Force's first integrated INS GPS. A lot of lessons learned there. We did GPS jamming, rooting around up at Holloman. We tested stealthy radio antennas. Onboard inert gas generating system. I went through my logbook. I had forgotten half of this stuff. A SATCOM, yeah, somebody fix this. We did a SATCOM data link that allowed real-time mission planning on board the airplane, which shrunk the mission planning timeline from on the order of 8 to 12 hours down to just minutes, and we could do it airborne. We did digital brakes where Bill just about had his teeth shaken out. Ask him about that. That's pretty good. Whole bunch of science projects to improve the low observability of the F-117. But most importantly, Extender 2, which was a new piddle pack for the Air Force. And there's a whole story with a NCO named Babbicky that Bill and I pulled one of the most awesome practical jokes ever. Another two-beer story. So in order to maintain our relevancy on the mission of the 117, we flew simulated combat missions around Southern California. And in conjunction with U2 photography, believe it or not, you cannot get satellite pictures inside the CONUS without all sorts of legal wranglings and all that stuff. We have a bunch of YouTube pictures, and Bill came up with a way of triangulating. The corners of the pictures are mensurated, and he came up with a method of triangulating the coordinates for our different targets. We had different targets, such as O.J. Simpson's house, So Damn Insane's anthrax tank. We had Michael Jackson's carousel at Neverland Ranch, and even Charlie Manson's cell in Corcoran Prison. So let's talk about call signs. We called him Cliffy. He shows up at the F-117s. Cliff Clavin was a postal worker character on the show Cheers, who always had something extra to add to the conversation, whether it was apropos or not. Bill didn't appreciate this at all. But yeah, he'd forgotten about it, but now it's starting to ring a bell. But, you know, frankly, I think evil is the perfect nickname, call sign for Bill. Because Bill came by that call sign, and through his entire career, he has taken his attitude to make you stop, think critically about what you're doing before you press ahead. And in this field of business, if you're not thinking critically, it's a recipe for disaster, if not worse, right? In the wake of the F-22 accident that cost Dave Cooley his life, we collaborated on what became time safety margin. And it's exactly that. It's to make your test team stop, think about what they're doing before they press ahead. So evil, well-deserved, well-worn. And, you know, we've talked about his intellect. He's a brilliant individual. And it's extremely rare to have a brilliant individual that can boil complex concepts down to dirt farmer level, knuckle dragger, I heard that earlier, to where we understand what's going on. It's very rare, and I really appreciate that. Of course, it wouldn't be a retirement if I didn't give you a piece of wood. So, Bill, I've got something here to commemorate the absolute apex. He's got all sorts of awards and commendations. We heard all of that today. But this will commemorate the absolute apex of your life. And living in Palmdale, our two families would get together in the front yard on Friday nights. We'd let the kids and dogs go running around, carrying on, right, Alex, Bill, Whitney? And we'd be drinking margaritas, and we'd harass anybody that drove by, especially if they didn't wave. We'd wave at them. If they didn't wave back, here came the verbal barrage. But anyway, we called ourselves the Lawn Lizards. So, Bill, this plaque acknowledges that you are a charter member of the Royal Benevolent Fraternal Order of Lawn Lizards.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we're going to open up the floor for anyone else who wishes to tell some stories about Evil Bill. All right, just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present to you Mr. William Evil Bill Gray, retired.
So I'm going to call you the Iron Audience. This is a long time, and I got to say it's pretty darn overwhelming. At no point in my career did I target any of this. All I had was a love for learning, just intense curiosity that lasts to this day. And it's just the idea that I could learn new stuff. I remember going to test pilot school. And right away, I realized I was learning things about airplanes, a subject I loved since I was a child. I was learning things about airplanes I didn't know you could know. And it was like that week after week after week, and it was so rewarding. I worked my butt off. You know, Lisa was essentially single parenting our children. But in the end, I entered this community of folks that is intensely dedicated and intelligent and curious. They're people into service. They're people that, like me, want to know how things work and want to make the world a better place. I want to start my short talk today with just a recognition, an acknowledgement that the work that we do is not safe. I mean, there are more dangerous things. But these are things that we all do. Perhaps maybe driving down the 405 at certain times, a motorcycle is more dangerous than what we do. That's a choice. That's a selfish thing. The things that we do because we believe that the risk to our personal selves is worth the reward of that data. It's worth the reward of that. And every now and then that risk comes to be. So this is dedicated to Torch 1-1. I had a good friend and three students. My students in here, I am so intensely proud of you. And that hurt. So keep doing this. We have to keep doing this. We know the risks are there. We'll keep doing it. So thank you for coming. I don't feel like I deserve this. This is a lot of fun, by the way. This is kind of nuts. The amount of effort that goes into stuff that the people did here is just insane. So Julie, Dave, everybody, Heather, that put all the work into this, Starsky, who had to stand up here and try to arrange all this, just great work. It's so awesome. Julie, I think Julie said to me, "Oh, I'm glad you're not a bridezilla," because apparently apparently there are people that do this and they just take over. Like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. And I'm like, you guys just do what you think is best. And here we are, rapidly, I hope, approaching the end. So Dave, thank you very much. Dave works many, many long hours. His dedication to the school, I think in a lot of respects, I think that his dedication to the school and his hard work deserves more recognition and award than mine. What I do because I love it. It's my passion. I've had the honor, the privilege, the joy of spending all my time doing stuff I love to do. Dave is an engineer. Sometimes, and people that do this are my heroes, and Dave chief amongst them, they want to do the engineering, they want to do the pilot thing, but they know that maybe they will do more as the adult in the room. The person that makes it possible for guys like me, who trust me, you do not want me as a manager. You do not want me, no, you want me, doing what I do. Dave makes that possible for folks like us, guys like Dave, guys, the people that I work with, I almost said that worked for me, as commandants, the people that work, the folks that go and they kind of abandon the sort of career they dreamed they were going to have as kids and fly cool jets, and they end up instead in leadership, working insanely long hours in that position. The respect I have for all of you really cannot be put in words. I have many friends here, all tightly packed in the front rows. We gave them a tour this morning. They got to go see the B-21. Now, tell you what, this is a pretty cool thing. I'm like, okay, I pulled out all the stops. I said, can they see the B-21? And, we're going to do this. So we had them on a bus, and on the way to the facility, I had to tell everybody, everything off. Watches off, cameras off, phones off. And then a guy met us at the red line. There's this whole serious conversation, a walkie-talkie, cleared to break red. We broke red. They had the hangar doors open and across the taxiway, couldn't get any closer than the taxi line. The bus sat there, and a gentleman came on board and gave us a quick talk about the airplane. It was so mysterious and cool. So I hope you guys are having a good time. I apologize. There's only so many ways that people could say I'm awesome. I didn't try to be awesome. I don't know. I don't know what to say. So my kids, I'm so incredibly proud of you. You mean everything to me. You really do. My dad, who is probably watching this, my two brothers, Bob and Dave. Dave is a brilliant guy. He's been working something called natural language recognition now for a couple decades. He is a leader. He is a manager. He is one of the steadiest guys I've ever known. My brother Bob is an interesting cat. He is incredibly talented, unbelievably strong. He used to race mountain bike racing on fixies. All right? You ever ridden a fixie? Mountain bike racing on fixies. He was captain of the first fire department that showed up in Arlington on 9/11 at the Pentagon. He helped run that. He helped run cleaning that out. His helmet is in the museum of the 9/11 event in New York. So if you've ever been to that museum, when there's a whole cleanup section, if you look in there, you'll see a glass case and there's a fireman's helmet there, and it says Bob Gray, and that's my brother. All right, and you've heard a little bit about my dad, who has just had an incredible career. To this day, at 87 years, he's serving on boards, he's mentoring kids, he's working mostly, believe it or not, in cyber. Which is a fascinating thing. So incredibly proud of all that. Now, I have to talk about Lisa, because I have no choice. I think I've already had a good cry, so maybe I'll manage to get this by without crying. But the love of my life, the moment I saw her, it was just, I think love at first sight is good. She had to be convinced. It took a little bit of time, but we got there. But she's been with me now for 42 years. Every year a blessing. And to give you a sense of what she has done for me, for the past, oh my goodness, ever since you started working full-time in Santa Monica, we have lived apart for 5 days a week. And for the past 5 years, I've slept in a cot in my office. Now, a lot of you guys don't know this, and that was intentional because it sounds awful. It was awesome for me, man. The commute was super short. There were showers right there. You know, the showers are crap, but I didn't have to clean them, you know. There were snacks. I got an extra half-hour sleep every morning, right? But I did that because we live in Santa Monica. And there's no way in the world I could do that commute every day. And you supported me in that. And she supported me in that because she believes in what we do. And she believes so much in what we do that she has spent, I would argue she spent at least 1,000 hours a year for the last 15 years working hard to fundraise, to build the damn museum that right now is a frame outside the Westgate. This place, so much has been done here. So many amazing things, so many amazing people. It's such a big part of aviation history worldwide. It's a shame we don't have a proper museum that the public can go to. So for you, just a few more things because I've earned the right to pontificate for a little bit. So first of all, why 22 and a half years at test pilot school? Why have I been flying the T-30 as an instructor for 30? Well, first of all, I get bored quickly, and that's why I'm a test pilot, because I was getting bored with flying fighters. I was literally doing low levels at night in the weather at 480 knots and 400 feet, and I was bored. And I realized that what was going on there was I wanted more out of life than just doing things well. I wanted to make things better. I wanted to understand things. I have that curiosity. So I applied to test pilot school because the only other option was go fly for the airlines and then do something on the side that would get my brain going, right? So part of me wanted to be the pilot, part of me wanted to be the engineer and the scientist. And it is fortunate, I guess, for us that a lot of pilots don't want to be engineers and scientists. They just want to blow stuff up and kill people. That got me bored really fast. So I came here. And also and I ended up here because as an instructor at the school, I was learning constantly. So I want you to imagine a learning environment where you have people that all did very, very well in school, are all very motivated, that all love flying and are just intensely curious. And you're teaching them stuff that they're excited about. Most of what I learned while I was at test pilot school, most of what I learned that led to things like the 6PIO technique and workload buildup and a lot of the stuff that I've written in the curriculum stories, I learned because of students asking questions. It never would have occurred to me that there was a solution out there until somebody challenged my conception of it and said, well, what about this? And I had to go, that is a great point. And I guarantee you that the curriculum is the way it is now because people in this audience asked good questions for the guy that was busy writing it. And it was just lovely. So another question that you might ask is, what am I proudest of as this career finished up? And it's kind of weird. You know, when I think about all the flying I've done, and I look at my career as the 14-year-old that wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, and I kind of, if you ever do that, it's an interesting exercise. Go back to what do you think of yourself now through the eyes of your, as you're, entering junior high school, and I would have been absolutely freaking floored because look at all the cool things I got to fly and all that. But you know what? When I see one of my students go up in front of SCTP and give a great paper on a subject and teach the world how to do flight tests better, that makes me prouder. When I see my students, my former students, run organizations, make good decisions, do first flights, that is what makes me proud. That's what makes me happy. So I'm proudest of the product of the test pilot school more than anything else. I'm also proud of the work that Dave and I have done over the years to make the school a better place. We've been accused of not modernizing, but we have worked our butts off for 2 decades to get closer and closer within the resources we have to producing the kind of flight testers that the United States and America needs, or that the Air Force in America needs. So I have to talk a little bit about the future of the school, and there are some really interesting headwinds. You know, everything gets more complicated. The amount of things that we now test out in the real world just keeps getting more and more complex all the time. The school's not getting longer. Our budget's not getting it really any higher. It's unlikely we're going to get any fancy new airplanes. So how in the world do we make people ready to test, you know, F-35s or F-47s or B-21s? How do we get people ready to test when we can't fly them in B-2s, right? We can't fly them in the modern equipment. And I think the answer is just the fundamentals. When I graduated from test pilot school, I had like an hour of chatting from an instructor about what stealth was about. I'd had no education on brake testing. I'd had no education on a whole bunch of stuff. I would say that half the things I did as a test pilot school never even talked about it, yet I did them all successfully because I knew what flight test was. I understood. I need to understand the system. I need to talk to the experts. I need to look at the big picture and try to figure out, well, how in the world am I going to get this thing to the point at which it's most dangerous without damaging it or myself or anything else? And how do I do that in a way so when I'm done, when things inevitably don't work right, I've got the data that I need to tell the designers, here's how you might fix it, right? That is what I learned. So when I had to go do the stealth flight test, what did I do? Well, my squadron commander said, hey, get to Georgia Tech and take a week-long course in stealth. That was awesome. I'm a physics guy. I was all over that. Perfect. Now I had the little bit of knowledge I needed. Brake testing. There were a couple of engineers here on base. That was all they did. I learned so much about brakes. And in the end, I was the guy that did endpoint testing on the brakes in the T-38, which was quite likely the most hazardous testing that I've ever done. It's funny to think the most hazardous testing that I ever did was something that I never even learned about in test pilot school, yet somehow I was prepared to do it. So what is the primary duty of our students? What is it that people think of when they think of test pilots and flight test engineers, graduates of the school? And I'm going to extend this out to space as well. What they think of is they think of people that take new machines and put them into the environment for the first time in a safety critical way. First flights, envelope expansion, the first time you put a satellite on a rocket, you put it up into space. All of these things have to be done carefully, with a lot of knowledge, and using techniques that we focus on at the test pilot school. For me, envelope expansion is really what it's all about. I believe that if we have graduates that are ready to go day one to join the test team doing envelope expansion, that they can quickly get to where they need to be to do any other kind of testing. I passionately believe this. This is my experience, and this is what I've seen out in the real world. So, another thing that I think it's important, and you know, people have asked me, normally on this sleeve you would wear a test pilot school patch, just the emblem of the school itself, and usually it'd say instructor on the top. Well, I mean, I've got a TPS graduate patch with a black border which says I'm an instructor. By the way, this is OG too. This is, you know, you've done it a while when you got a faded instructor patch. But on this side, I wear the symbol of the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. Now, this is not an organization endorsed by U.S. Air Force. It's actually a worldwide organization. We have members from around the world, and that's the point of it. We don't do classified stuff. We do envelope expansion. We do getting flight test right, and that is something that exists independent of nations. And I was very, very proud to be a part of that organization. But why do I wear this? I wear this because I want to be reminded every day that the vast majority of our graduates will do the vast majority of their flight testing out of uniform. The people that tested, you know, the 737 or Airbuses, the people that test the airplanes that you might buy or you might fly in, you get a ride with Elon Musk in his fancy ass airplane. You know, the people that tested that airplane are people that graduate from schools like ours. So we do more than just make test pilots for the Air Force. That's our primary mission. We can never forget that. But if we prepare them correctly, we have a long-term effect on flight test and the flight test enterprise really around the world. So what about my future? I've done all this cool stuff. You guys have heard probably too much about that. Lisa and I have been doing a lot of travel. It turns out that getting away from flying is really good for me mentally. So we've been riding tandem bicycles, which is so twee. We've been riding tandem and we have friends here that we met on our tandem bicycle rides. Rob, Mary, and we go on these trips where we ride tandems all over the place, and we want to do more of that. I need to be more fit. As it turns out, riding bicycles gets harder as you get older, so I need to do it more so I can keep riding longer, because I'm not ready for electric yet. So we want to adventure travel. The last thing I want to do, though, is I can't quit this. I love this stuff. I'm not here for the money. Most of us aren't here for the money. We're here because it needs doing, it feeds our families, and it's highly rewarding. I want to stay involved at whatever level I can. I hope to continue to teach in the classroom. I hope I continue to write curriculum for the Test Pilot School, review curriculum, whatever Dave needs me to do and what I want to do, because I'm retired now. I can do what I want to do. But I'm pretty sure we can find stuff I want to do and he'll pay me to do. And I'm looking for stuff that I can do when I'm with Lisa, because I would love to work on a textbook for handling qualities in a hotel in Amsterdam or a resort in Hawaii, right? I've got a lot of living left to do. I got a lot left to share. I really want to do that. So I'm going to stay involved. I will work with many of you again, which really excites the heck out of me. I think I'm done flying as an aircraft commander. So a few years ago, I got to the point where I had so much stuff I needed to do that wasn't flying, that whenever I looked at the flying schedule, I saw a flight, I would be a little bit frustrated, because there was other stuff that I thought I'd be more effective at doing, and other people could do the flying just fine. But we're short man, got to do it, I do it. It's no problem. I make graduates. It's gotten to the point now, every time I get in an airplane, I love it. I love it. My Finney flight was fantastic. We had so much fun bringing back this dissimilar chase ride. Hopefully our juniors will fly that sortie sometime while they're here. And it was just fun. But when it was over, I just felt relief. Because every time I step in an airplane, there's responsibility. And I've done it. So, thank you for being here. You are my people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. We ask that you remain at your seats until the official party and family have departed.